Is this on? This on? Okay, we're ready. Oh, we're on, okay. I've got about 8 pages of stuff to go through with Jeremy, but I want to make sure that I nail everything possible, so bear with me, but it's a lot of good stuff. So Jeremy Zimmerman served as marketing director for some of the Riverside County's most well-known brands, including Cal Baptist University, as well as Riverside University Health Systems. He grew and managed a creative team comprised of designers, writers, planners, photographers, coders, and others as he guided each organization to the expression of its essential purpose and to achieve their business goals. And I know so often that we get people that do things, but they only do a partial job. This guy puts a whole package together. Jeremy designed and implemented programs and campaigns engaging CEOs to the frontline staff and everyone in between. Very important to get the whole team together and understand what's going on. As part of his method to distribute ownership and build cultures that sustainability support beloved brands. You can see the legacy of Jeremy's work. Of course, I mentioned CBUs. And what is their theme?
Live your purpose.
That's Jeremy. Jeremy created that. Okay, as well as Riverside University Health Systems, because you matter. That's the organizational slogan. He started his career in the advertising agency world, where he developed his ability to help clients differentiate themselves and achieve market advantage. You know, there's a lot of business out there. There's a lot of opportunity for everyone to be able to capture what they want. Today, Jeremy's going to show you just bits and pieces that you can immediately put into place. His client lists include Toshiba, American Electronics Corporation, Siemens Building Controls, Hughes Identification Devices, Farmer and Merchants Bank, and others representing a wide range of industries. Those are big names. But you know what? A lot of our businesses are small businesses, and Jeremy wanted to come here to help you get that big advantage, the big business advantage. Jeremy earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Riverside, University of California in Riverside. He's got an MBA from the University of Redlands, and he teaches undergraduate and graduate students both at University of Redlands as well as Cal Baptist University. Welcome. Jeremy and his wife Tracy, by the way, she brings an extensive experience in marketing, financial services, and philanthropy. I did. Don't mess with it, okay. They founded Brand Purpose in 2018 to broaden their scope in their influence for a better and a larger, bigger audience. Again, I just want to put emphasis on the fact that he wants to help small businesses achieve the greatness. Now, just for some fun, both Jeremy and Tracy are parents kind of like to the Brady Bunch-like family, comprised of 2 adult daughters and 2 teen sons. Starting their business and raising their family is a little bit difficult to find little cracks of time to do things. But when time permits, Jeremy trains in a range of martial arts, and Tracy leads a boot camp and yoga classes. By the way, they met when Jeremy was teaching a class and she was enrolled.
Yeah.
So we'll have our HR class later on that. But seriously, our chamber is so blessed to have quality presenters. And I am so impressed with the fact of what Jeremy has put together for you today. I'm going to be sitting in here taking notes. I encourage each and every one of you to. Before I bring him up for the applause, does anyone need a notepad or a pen? I will go get those while we bring him up. Yes? I'll bring a couple of them on in. We'll do that. So this is like your opportunity to be on the front lines of an Academy Award recipient. When I bring Jeremy up, I want you on your feet and giving him all the energy, the love, because that's going to revert back when he does his presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jeremy Zimmerman.
Wow, okay, I think that was the best part of it right there. Probably should just go ahead and pack up and get on our way. Well, thank you, Bobby, wherever you are now. That was very gracious And yeah, you're a terrifying group. No, it really is an honor and a blessing to be here with you. Just watch out for this guy right here. To be with you this morning, and there's so much that I would like to say. And I believe we're here till noon, is that correct? So I can just elaborate a little bit. So no, we'll get you out of here on time. In fact, is Stephanie here somewhere? Okay. Can you time me?
Sure.
Do you mind? And if I sometimes speak a little faster than I should, try and get all the ideas out. So if I start going so fast that it becomes difficult or distracting, just someone can just go, slow down. That usually really helps me if I start doing that. And yeah, if you can let me know when we are half an hour out, so 9:30. Yeah, I should be done with my first slide. I've got like 35 slides, just wall-to-wall text. No images, just all words. I'm just going to read them, because don't you love that? Don't you love just the reading the PowerPoints? No, I care about you all too much to do that to you. That would be abusive. All right, so 3 things that you can do today that will strengthen your brand tomorrow. And I want to start by sharing a story. Wait till you guys have all your stuff. Yes, you will need notepads, if for nothing else, to doodle little idiosyncratic things that I might say. I might whip out the Carmex every so often. This is the vice that I allow myself to have. I can't get through 30 minutes without applying the Carmex, so if you see that, it won't be too distracting. But starting with the story, to help to underscore the significance of what we're here to talk about today. Because I never take that for granted. I always assume a skeptical audience, because I myself am skeptical. I think it's a good thing when someone presents some sort of truth to you that you say, so what? Why is that important? Whether or not it's true or not, but why is it important? So I want to start with the story of 2 brands. Who knows who this gentleman is right here? Okay. It's Herb Kelleher. Herb Kelleher was one of the founders of Southwest Airlines. And so those are the 2 brands that I want to begin just talking about. Just very quickly again to set the stage for the significance of the concept of branding, because people use it in a lot of different contexts, and unfortunately, because of its often incomplete exposition, or maybe just a confusing presentation of the idea, the value of the concept gets diminished. And I hope to elevate it in your mind, but more than elevate, help you to apply it so that you personally and also you professionally can achieve advantage in everything that you're doing, because it really has an equivalent number of professional as well as personal applications. So if you watch the video that we created to promote this event, thank you for making it through 2 minutes of that. But the marketing really is about relationships. It just so happens it's commercial relationships. But if I can help give you some relationship advice today, then I will be gratified for that. So 2 brands, Southwest Airlines and American Airlines. And you can see here Southwest stock price from, you can't go back to its origin, but I started pretty far back in the 1990s. And you can see, in comparison, American is the red line. If you saw that on a, what is the oscilloscope device they hooked up to in the hospital, they would pronounce you dead after that. With Southwest, is, of course, is the blue line. And what makes this significant is, well, Herb Kelleher passed away in January of this year. And so I, based on that, thought he's always been a hero of mine. Southwest and is an amazing brand. How many of you have ever had the experience of flying on Southwest? Yes. And how many of you would rate the experience as being overall positive? Yeah. Okay. I mean, you may have packed away too many Cheez-Its or peanuts, but that's really on you, isn't it? You didn't have to ask for the 5th bag, but they just keep throwing them at you. That a discount economy brand could be known not for just for its cheap airfares. That's part of the overall value that it delivers to customers, and that comes from its core purpose, which was to connect people what's important to them. You know, I grew up flying was a luxury that most people couldn't afford. And then over time, because of new entrants like Southwest, it became available to larger and larger portions of the audience. Now you might say that's been kind of a mixed bag of blessings and curses, and sometimes it feels like you're flying in a bus. But the truth is that a lot more people can move a lot further than they ever were able to before. And Herb Kelleher and Southwest are a big part of that. So Herb passed away at the beginning of this year, and so I did some research on Herb. On the day that he retired, and I believe it was 99, somewhere in the 90s, he retired from his position as CEO at Southwest. The airline, the pilots, flight attendants, the union employees, and Southwest is just as heavily unionized as any of the other airlines, and you always hear about it, the union workers having difficulty with management. But so is Southwest. They operate in the same environment. But on the day he retired, the union employees took out a full-page ad. In fact, I've got it here. A full-page ad in USA Today to thank him for his service. I'm trying to liquid in there. For his service. On that same day, the employees. Oh, did I move it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just want to get a chance to look at you
We're getting
for
body-
a while. I
Video of all you guys over there now.
Thanks.
It could have been so much worse, but thank you guys for noticing that. I think a bummer image with sandbags and bolted to the floor. Okay, I promise I won't be so mobile. In any event, that same day, American Airlines workers went out on strike. Isn't that wonderful? Just to juxtapose those outcomes. Now, why is that? And I put a statement here by Herb Kelleher, and for those of you who are mothers, or parents more generally, this should warm your heart. This was the core concept upon which Herb built his brand. He built his organization so that it could support this brand of putting customers first. The way he did that is that he put his employees first. He saw his employees as his customers. And then the people that his employees are, those are the customers. But he put them first. And you can see it, that attitude that he expressed to his employees, they in turn expressed back to the customers. And even though, you're herded in like cattle into these flying buses, and there really are not a lot of creature comforts that are offered, you're getting a great deal. It doesn't seem like that. It doesn't seem like a discount, like you're sitting on a box and lots of turbulence, and did this guy just get his air pilot license? No, it seems like these are people that really care about what they're doing. Now, I want you to hang on to that idea as we move forward and thinking about, well, what is a brand? We want to start with the definition so that we can all start from the same place. And so I brought these shirts along to motivate. I know it's early in the morning, and I'm not a morning person, and so maybe some of you also are trying to get the gears turning. So this is a little bit of an inducement to engage with me as we move forward in this workshop, because this is supposed to be interactive at points. So I have these shirts. And so for those of you that go out on a limb, step out on the plank, and are willing to share an idea, you'll be motivated. Now I hope I have enough shirts. If I don't, I'll just get your names and addresses to send you one of your own. So the first question, and your opportunity to win your own brand purpose, powered by purpose t-shirt, or long sleeve shirt. So what is a brand? Now Florian, I'm gonna have to bench you for just a few, because I know Florian knows the answer to this question. So who wants to venture out, please?
It's your identity of the company, and well, you get deep in. I see it as like your colors, your purpose, it's bigger than just one thing.
Yes.
It's not just your mission. It's also how people identify you. So like McDonald's with the red and the yellow. Like you see that,
So
you
the
think.
colors, yes. Okay, excellent. You're onto something there. Thank you. Anyone else want to add to that? It is a big concept. There's a lot of pieces to it. Yes, Zach.
People perception of who you are and what you are offering.
I like that. Okay. So there are parts that you control in a certain sense, but there's also parts that other people control. That's also part of that, right? Any other thoughts?
And I'm thinking in the way you make someone feel, like Nike, just do it.
Mm-hmm. So that the emotion, the spirit that you hope to prompt, and then when they think about you, okay, you guys all get shirts, so congratulations. By the way. I'm not going to stop right now and curl my t-shirt can and just point blank right in the chest. You really want to get one of those.
So I don't have to say anything else.
Yeah, like a peanut cannon. Off the ceiling tiles back into your lap. Okay, so those are excellent definitions. And if you put all those together, and this is actually, you guys are doing better than most. A lot of times what we get preoccupied with when we think about branding are the visual parts of branding. Because the idea of branding is something that is painfully visual. When you think about an animal getting branded, I mean, there's something that you can see, but there's also something that the recipient feels. In fact, we helped a client launch their new tiny home showroom a couple weekends ago. And during the event, we presented them with their own custom-made brands, and like real brands, metal brands. You could heat them up. Surprisingly, I was not able to get any volunteers for us to try. You know, amazing boys try these things out. So if anyone here wants to try, let me know. That's really showing your commitment. That's, for me, that's when you know you got a brand that connects, when people are willing to tattoo it on their body. It's called a brand test. They want to put a, you know, your company's logo and your ideal on their shoulder, like a Harley Davidson symbol. But these are all symbols, and these are all parts of brands. They're ways that we can organize information in our heads. And so whether it's, someone mentioned Nike, the swoosh, and if you see that, immediately think,
Just do it.
Just do it.
yes, just do it. Now, how does that happen, by the way? How do you know? If I put this thing up, you all know what that means. Or at least you have an idea of this. There's a symbolism, but there's also semantic value. There's meaning to it. How does that happen? Were you born like this?
Repetition.
Repetition.
Number of impressions that they get.
Yeah, it's you exactly. There's a Nike is educating you on what they want you to think about them. It's almost Pavlovian, you know, the dog. They ring the bell to give it food, and pretty soon he's ring the bell, he starts to salivate because he knew the food was coming. And not that you guys are you know, primitive animals that were just trying, but there is a certain element to that. So we want to come back to that in just a little bit. It wasn't by mistake that this happened. Okay. The Angels, these little mascots, the little Target bulldog, really cute. The Absolute vodka ads, I mean, they're iconic. If I took the brand name off of that and just showed you that, I'm guessing most of you, and you're all of legal age, so that's okay. And if there was a 16, I'd say, you have an intervention. The Apple stores, I mean, that's a huge part, that being able to physically engage with the brand concept. Packaging. Florian took me on a field trip last week to a little microbrewery, a startup who was a case study for a branding concept that he worked through. We wanted to look at how they bring that brand idea into that little space, and the labeling and all these kinds of things. So those are all parts of the brand. But the visual aspects, the cosmetics, as important as those things are, those are not the sum total meaning of the brand. So think about your experience. Oftentimes it helps to appreciate these concepts if you, for a moment, step out of the position of business owner, entrepreneur, leader, founder, whatever your role is in your business, and adopt the position of a customer. Okay? And so you walk into a restaurant, and so in that space, because I think it's a great example, where do you find the brand? So if this was the restaurant you were walking into, what is the brand? How do you engage with it in a space like this, in a restaurant?
The people.
Okay. To the wait staff, okay. Another one?
Atmosphere.
The atmosphere, okay. So there could be the music, first the lighting, that's brightly lit, dimly lit. The aromas.
Well, then it's the
Interior signage or exterior signage.
then it's the experience. I mean, all those things are part of the experience that you're branding.
You couldn't have said it better. It's almost like I planted him in the crowd. Yeah, and that is it. It is all of those things. And so when you think about that, whether you're working directly with end user consumers, or whether you're a business to business arrangement, you sell products and services to other business so they can provide services and products to consumers eventually, it doesn't really matter. The principles transcend because we're all working with people. Until your client is an artificially intelligent machine, but they also have needs, don't they? They don't want to get unplugged. So we'll deal with that when we come to how to brand to AI. I'm not sure that's going to work. But for right now, we're working with people. You know, people operate the same way. They're evaluating their experience with your company on a variety of different dimensions. Certainly, the product and service has to be adequate at a minimum. It has to satisfy whatever the need is, but there's so much more to it than that. If you just came in here and you ordered the filet mignon and they slapped it down in front of you with kind of on a paper plate threw a spork at you in a little napkin, those little picnic napkins. Say, wow, this is steak was fine, but everything that surrounded the experience was just awful. And Yelp is full of those kinds of experiences, isn't it? So that gives us hope. Because maybe you think, okay, well, my product, my service, in and of itself, is not terribly differentiated. There's nothing about it inherently that makes it different. But there are so many other ways that you can find points of difference, meaningful points of difference. Think about when Amazon came onto the scene back in the 90s and had their Amazon.com commercials, and all they did were selling books. It's books. The same thing you could buy other booksellers. Remember the bookstores? We used to have those. Isn't that great? That's kind of sad. That's a casualty of e-commerce, but it was just books. But Jeff Bezos found a way to differentiate in the basis of distribution. I can get it to you faster. You don't have to go to a store. And then kind of built on that model. And it's interesting that Amazon, like Apple, and I'm not going to talk about Apple much because people just beat Apple to death as being the poster child for everything good that has ever happened in marketing. And there is some truth to that, but I'm not going to belabor that one. But both those companies are obsessed with customer experience. In fact, Amazon's purpose statement is to be or mission statement, to be the most customer-centric company on earth. And what they meant by that, what Jeff Bezos meant by that, was that, everything that they do starts with the customer and works its way backwards. They don't start with, hey, these engineers came up with this cool little widget, and go find someone that wants to buy it. You can do that. But a better way that increases your hit rate, your probability of success, is what does the market need, and work backwards from there. I don't want to get off topic. But the idea, it's comprehensive. It is both the symbolism, it's the semantic, it's what it means. And all those things coming together to create experiences that foster loyalty among your customers. One of the reasons this topic is so important is business is all global, okay? Even though you might be working at a very local or regional level, but likely there are other alternatives and substitutes from out of the area that are trying to win your business. I know there's a number of insurance, financial services companies represented here. And so you're competing with other people in your own neighborhood and in the region and online and from out of state, from out of the country. It's horrendously competitive. And especially when everyone's selling a very similar set of products. So thinking about how can I develop a meaning that differentiates me from my competitors, a meaning that is very difficult for anyone else to mimic. Because as soon as you add a new, tangible feature to your product, your competitors are going to copy it, and then all of a sudden it's a commodity. Okay, let's keep moving. So your brand is what you mean to others, and it's the sum of all the experiences they have with you. So when they come into that restaurant, they come into your store, they engage with you on the phone, they come to your website, they go to your social media profile. Those are opportunities for you to make an impression. for you to be waiting there with your red hot branding iron and make an impression that they won't forget, but in a positive way. And as a number of you alluded to, there's a part of it, gotta be careful, there's a part of this that you own. Okay, because it is your brand. Someone had to start it, and you did. So congratulations and thank you for adding value to our existence. There's also, of course, your customers. You mentioned that, Zach. There's their perception. So they get a vote. And then there's those people in the middle that are responsible for delivering those experiences. Your employees, co-workers. I'll use it interchangeably depending, I'm not sure if all of you are owners, founders, general managers, CEOs, and there's some people here that operate at a peer level. And that's fine too. You can affect change without a title. I think probably most of you know that. So your employees and coworkers, they also get a vote, and all of you together create that brand. If it's just you, and you go out and hire an agency to tell you what you should say and how you should look to make people like you, and you don't engage the people that are responsible for serving your customers, they're not likely going to get on board with that. Or if they do, it's going to be some variation of, I guess this is the next big thing we're going to do, and we'll try it, and it's not going to be delivered with the kind of enthusiasm that you really need it to. Why is this so important? Well, this is a bit of research that came out of Harvard Business Review that shows the connection between your employees' level of engagement and alignment with your ultimate goals, which are profitability and growth. All of it, because if you're not growing, you're dying. So we want to grow, we want to be profitable, because that's what enables us to expand our business and offer new services, and it makes it exciting because you want to keep building and growing and helping more people. And you see, when you're what makes for a delighted customer?
When their expectations are met.
Exactly. And who meets those expectations?
Employees and products.
Exactly. So the employees that either make this, so this works equally well whether you're a product-based offering or whether you're a service-based offering. It's especially important with service because it's just that person right there. That's what they're buying, that point of contact. And so it better go really, really well. And not just that it needs to go well one time. It needs to go well every single time. Remember when McDonald's, when they developed their, well, I'm sure you remember, this goes back before when I was born, but developed the franchise model, and they were known for their consistency. You could go to McDonald's anywhere and you could eat the same mediocre food. But it was mediocre to a consistent, I'm not denigrating them. McDonald's is an amazing brand, and I can only hope to have the longevity and success that they've enjoyed. Although I will not cause as many people to have coronary artery disease. Yeah, it's their claim to fame.
Millions and millions, sir.
Yes, exactly. Millions and billions of cardiac arrests, or as I like to call them, myocardial infarctions, because it just sounds more fun. But there was consistency across all those touch points. Okay? And so that's what we're looking for too, a consistent level of delight. And so delighted customers are made by delighted employees, and where delighted employees come from, they come from being engaged. There's a lot of dimensions there. It isn't just that they get paid a lot, because they used to have a lot of wealthy, dissatisfied, disengaged employees. We're so much more complicated than that. It's certainly engaging in meaningful work, feeling like I have a role, a significant role in the outworking of whatever this enterprise is. It's what Herb Kelleher did with his employees. It was not unusual to find Herb Kelleher on planes passing out peanuts or hanging out with the mechanics who were servicing the planes in between flights, dressed up in a purple skirt and feather boa, dropping in on and he did that. I mean, I'm just saying that you can go through and you can see pictures and videos that he was an unusual guy. But he loved his people, and in turn his people loved their customers. All right. I mentioned in the video, the promo video, that successful relationships are based on reciprocity, right? And so reciprocity is exchanging of value. So you're not going to stay in a relationship for very long if you just give and give and give and give and you get nothing in return. Okay, so I use that kind of extreme example to make a point, is that commercial relationships are the same way. And you may think, well, it's enough. I gave them a service, I gave them a policy, or I gave them a car, or whatever it was. If you're in a nonprofit situation, you're selling something too. If you're a fundraiser, what are you selling? Because you are selling something. Yeah.
You're selling our services.
Could be some services, that go to help the targeted population that you're designed to serve, but for the person who contributes money, for a donor. Because of satisfaction, there's this sense of that the person receives when they contribute that money, that I may have blown it in every other part of my life, but at least in this one thing, I'm going to make a difference. And that's going to make me feel better about myself. It's going to have, regardless of what other things I do, if they all fade away, at least this thing will continue to be a benefit to the world. And that's, most people, unless you're psychopathic or sociopathic, that's important to you. So we're all selling something. That's a value. So we want to think about how to brand. So on top of the functional value of your product, so if you are buying a car, the fuel efficiency, maybe you're looking for certain body styling and cargo capacity, all those different functional benefits. And assuming everything you're looking at offers comparable features, financing is approximately the same. Okay, so when you layer on top of that equation, all the values that a strong brand can contribute, you see there, and this doesn't have to mean it requires a lot of money either. So for you, developing and strengthening your brand and being intentional about its meaning and its growth increases loyalty, retention, and lifetime value. Okay, and that's, like I said, it's critical in the competitive environments in which we work. We can't lose customers. I mean, there's some customers we need to lose. Sometimes you got to fire a bad customer. But for the most part, we want to retain customers because they are way more profitable than customers you have to go recruit, aren't they? I don't think I have to belabor that point. I think we all. Decrease recruiting and training or onboarding costs, not just with your customers, but also with employees. What a pain in the neck to spend, a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year training someone, and they just take off, and you got to start right back at the beginning. It's like I just said, took 2 steps forward, 1 step back. When you've got people who are engaged and buy into the concept, they will keep themselves involved. Decreased price sensitivity. The difference between buying a cup of coffee at Starbucks and buying a cup of coffee at the gas station. 25-cent cup of coffee, like 36 ounces, you could bathe in that cup. But if they were to raise it to 26 cents, what? Are you kidding me? But then the next day, you'll go to Starbucks and get a $5 Frappuccino. And Starbucks has played with this, with their pricing strategy. You see, okay, what happens if we increase, and it does over the years numerous times, it seems like they do it every day, but if they increase the price of a typical, tall cup of coffee by 10 cents, what happens? They found nothing happens. Our customers are not very sensitive to price changes. It seems like they'll pay whatever it is we tell them to pay. I mean, there's an upper limit to that. You can be really abusive about that, but they aren't. So because people are getting something more than just the functional value of the cup of coffee, getting that experience, that affiliation. When they see that symbol, they go into that space, whatever it is, they get in that proximity, and it makes them feel there's good associations with that, as opposed to the gas station, which is I get in and out as fast as I can, very price sensitive. Fosters goodwill with your brand. So when you blow it, and you will, we all do, make a mistake, your customers are much more likely to forgive you than if you are a mediocre or certainly a repugnant brand. Insulates against credit. Also very important with your employees. You don't want people working for you that when you make a mistake, you miss an order, something goes, because of course this place is so dumb. You're going to say, you know what? We are so sorry. We'll do whatever it takes to make it right. And again, you can go on YouTube and look at some of the Southwest happy customer stories and the kinds of links that the employees go through. They're not told, hey, if a plane gets delayed, order some buses, put the people on the buses, and get them to where they need to go, no matter what the cost. But employees do that kind of thing because they know that's in keeping with the founder's original intention. How are we doing on time? I have 3 minutes. I have 3 minutes.
No.
No, I'm not.
It's
Okay,
9:10.
I just noticed.
18 minutes.
You gave me 30 minutes.
30 minutes warning. Yes. Okay. Thank you. I just noticed that was there too. That's enough. Okay. So let's talk about you guys for a second. Tell me the thing that you're most embarrassed of. Okay. Let's talk about brands. So it kind of primed you just a little bit. It's a great icebreaker. A brand that you admire. Come on up. Was it your shirt at stake? Who wants to get a brand they admire?
In and out.
In and out. Okay. So
Yeah.
per JP, is that what you prefer?
Yeah,
Okay.
anyway.
What is it about In and Out that you appreciate and admire?
Well, the food's great.
Mhm.
Always good.
So functionally okay.
Yep. Just the experience. They're always cheerful, friendly,
Yeah.
make you feel welcome, and the whole experience, I think, like Tom said, the experience side of it.
Yeah. Isn't that awesome? I mean, that should give us some hope. What JP just said, we've been talking this a little bit, that even though, like I said, products may be very commoditized, there's always levers, there's always variables you can adjust to create an experience and a value that is unique to you. Okay? Okay, so In and Out, another brand. Yes, Kim.
Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
And mostly because they can get 30 cars through their drive-through line in 10 minutes. Whatever system they developed, I just wish every other place would put that in,
Yeah, do it.
because it's an amazing process just to be able to go in and you feel appreciated at every step.
Okay, I was going to ask you why, but you nailed it in terms of, it seems like they do all that because they appreciate, but they respect you as an individual, respect your time.
Yeah.
Their favorite sentence is my pleasure.
Mm.
Yes. Their phrase, my pleasure.
And it doesn't seem plastic, does it? Like, thank you very much for your order, please come again.
They're very genuine.
Yeah. It's not like they gave them a script. Something's happening behind the curtain. Okay, another brand.
Nordstrom.
Okay, I want to come to you in a second.
I
Okay,
would
Tracy.
say Amazon.
Okay, and why? For you personally.
For me personally,
Yes.
because I hate to shop and it's easy and returns are flawless and the prices are comparable.
So
And
return, that's a big thing for you. Talk about your experience returning things to other stores. Is that a fun activity typically?
Yeah.
Other stores make it easy to return.
No, not as easy as Amazon.
Yes. Okay, so that's a big deal. So maybe it's part of what Amazon has created, but it's in response to what others, the shortfall and others experience.
It's easy to return something.
Yeah.
And
Or when something gets stolen,
Mm-hmm.
that have things stolen and they're on top of it and resend it to you.
Mm-hmm. Take
And they don't-
responsibility.
They don't accuse you or make you feel like you were in the wrong,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
You,
Yeah.
they're with you.
Like you try to pull something over. on
Yeah.
them. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, Kirsten, Nordstrom.
Yeah,
Okay.
and speaking of
What about
returns, yeah, that's another good thing. They do free shipping, free returns. The quality of their product is excellent. Your customer experience is excellent. No problem with any returns. I mean, it's just a higher level.
Yes.
You know, I don't need my
Yeah.
receipt to go back and return something. Yeah, it's just a different experience shopping there than anywhere else.
Yes. I agree. You know, I had a bad experience at Nordstrom. I was in high school. My mom sent me back there to take back Palm Desert is Nordstrom's, and in the lower level, if you've ever been there, you know it's in the lower level of the Palm Desert Nordstrom. It's not a place that men often go, but I had to go because I had a big Nordstrom's bag full of my mom's things, and she was too busy. So that was fun. What are you doing with these things? Okay, one more. I know you're obscured by. Is it Suzanne? Suzanne or Susan?
Oh, that's me.
That's you, yes. But you're Lauren, but Suzanne's card was over here. Okay, so Lauren.
No, I was just going to touch on the Amazon. I have set up automatic recurring order for dog food, so it just comes directly to my door every week. or every couple weeks, but every once in a while I'll have ran out and need to just get some. But then I'll see that they've just charged my card and sent it out, and it's not going to be there for a couple of days. So I
Dog's gonna be hungry for a couple things.
well,
I'm
I've
guessing.
canceled the order, and then they're like, "Oh, we already shipped it, but just keep it. We'll return your money."
Wow.
And it's like, well, that was nice. You know, I'm trying to return dog food,
Yeah.
but they're super accommodating.
But they're
They don't always want their stuff back.
They're co-branding with Kohl's too, because
Yes.
on
Yes, they
Amazon,
are.
when it's an easy return, which I love, totally love, because all I do is go to Kohl's, no packaging, you just show your QR code or whatever code, send it, and on top of that, they give you a
25% off.
25% off to
To
shop
use
if
for
you
7
want to
days.
shop that day.
No, it's 7 days.
7 days.
Yeah.
7
I
days.
they've
It's
always
7
told-
days.
Oh,
No,
really?
it's 7 days.
They say use it today to.
Oh, okay, so I missed
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah, it's 7
I
days.
think we're all learning some things
They
here.
want you to use it today.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pivot for a second, and let's talk about brands that you abhor. Now, flood of the wave cresting over me here.
McDonald's.
Okay, Janina, what do you
It's just unhealthy.
So just that the whole stigma of the fast food, and they're kind of the poster child for fast food and things related to fast food.
I call it
Yeah, oh, I can see why that would be. Yeah, I've been waiting to articulate that for a long time. You feel better because I later. I finally said it in the opening. Well, I had a hand over here. I think was it Suzanne that put a hand up? Yeah, Suzanne.
Yeah, well, Sprint is my.
Oh, just get it out. This is therapeutic, isn't it? Yes. So I can imagine some functional things. That service is kind of spotty and.
It's just, I have to change. I don't know where to go that's any better.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's horrifying. They sent me this. I have this, I own this, right? I can't get it back to them no matter what I do. And you look it up online and there has to be 500,000 people in the same situation. They order something and they will not talk to you, they will not give it back.
Get you a contract.
And so they're just ripping everybody off in the country. And I think because they're primarily focused for young kids, and mom and dad are gonna pay for whatever the bill is anyway, so they don't care at all.
Well, I'm glad we were able to provide a venue for you to get that out. Okay. I saw another hand. Someone hasn't answered something yet. Is it Francine?
Yes, hi.
Hi, good to see you. A brand that you abhor.
Well, I was thinking of a brand that I like, but I agree with Sprint because whenever I call and I have an issue, it's someone who really doesn't speak English and they're reading from a script.
Yes.
And I'll tell them what my issue is and they'll answer with the same line. So that really pisses me off. But there's a brand that I really like called Chad because my daughter's a college student. CBU. Hey. And Chad would put like coupons and things that I guess maybe college students like a Red Bull. And it's really easy for her to return it, and the packaging, everything is just great. So Chegg is a wonderful company that I like.
Excellent.
What is
Did you get
that?
her books there?
Yeah.
Oh, I ordered books from Chegg before.
Yeah.
But I was a CBU.
How do you spell it?
CHEGG or something like that, yeah. She gets her college books from there.
She rents it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were great.
Okay. So what we're hearing and experiencing vicariously through all of our experiences is that there's much more to that value equation than just the sum of the functional parts, the product itself. There's a lot of things that wrap around that create value, and a big part of that is the brand concept and how it influences how all of this value is created and how it's expressed. So we want to build beloved brands, okay? Because those are the brands that people are less likely to switch, they're less price sensitive. It saves them time. We talk about when you're going to buy the dog food again. Think about the time you save. Imagine every time you bought that bag of dog food, you had to go through and go to the store, and go down that row, and look at every one of those bags, look at the nutritional information, compare the prices, the price per pound, per ounce, and then all that wasted time. When you identify a brand that you trust, and beyond that you love, it saves you a lot of time. It increases the perception of value. Again, it's like that idea in the restaurant. They slap your filet down on a paper plate versus if they present it to you on a fine china plate with the gold piping around the edges and the stainless steel cutlery and a linen cloth They even get the napkin open and tuck it into your shirt so you can dribble on yourself. Which of those tastes better? Okay, it's rhetorical. We already know. And that's fine, because we're engaging all of those senses, as opposed to just, my ability to taste, but everything else is awful. So I'm going to give you an example that I was involved in. Bobby mentioned it. CVU Live Your Purpose. And see, how did that come about? And what can we learn from that? And then we're going to get into applying some of these concepts in your situation. So when I got to CVU in 2005, they had just undergone what I would call a cosmetic rebranding. They hired a design firm that made for them their logo, not the abominable thing that you see on the billboards that has part of the old logo and part of a new collegiate-looking thing, and there's this unholy alliance with the two. So I take no responsibility for that. But they had this, this nice, attractive symbol. In fact, they hired the same design firm that had designed logos for many of their near competitors in Southern California. And so part of that makes sense when you're breaking into a new part of your industry, as they were, trying to get out of being seen as just a very small, quaint, little denominational private school to becoming a much larger, enterprising, varied academically in all these different ways school on the national stage. It makes sense to look and act like the people that you want people to think that you're like. So we started to dress like them, and talk like them, and so people started to think, oh, okay, they're a credible alternative to Azusa Pacific, possibly. But at some point, if you want to grow at a rate faster than the market's ebbs and flows, okay, because we all kind of rise and fall with the economic tide, don't we? But if we want to chart our own course that is less susceptible to just macro and microeconomics, we have to break out, we have to differentiate from the pack. And so they had started the process with this cosmetic rebranding, so logo, lots of brochures, a new website. So the visual aspects were there, but they lacked any sort of semantic value. They still left it up to people to see. When you see that symbol, you figure it out. So it's, it's a big school, a small school, it's a Christian school, it's not a Christian school, it's got engineering, it's got nursing, it's got education, it's got music, all this stuff. And everyone's saying that, which means it's a commodity. And when you present yourself, your products, as if they are just the same as everyone else's, then you force the market to make a decision based on price. And that's why these stupid companies, I might get in trouble, these companies like Sprint are the major airlines because they are so lacking vision and so out of touch with the people that they serve. They just think, well, they have to offer the lowest fares, and as a result of that, they have to cut back on service. And so you're getting, your customer service call gets rerouted to Indonesia, and that's fine if you're in Indonesia, okay? And so, because again, they lack vision, and because they presented themselves as if they were commodity. Samsung, we know and love Samsung, powerful South Korean consumer electronics brand. They made a very interesting choice. In the mid-90s, they were, at that point in time, kind of a commodity electronics brand. A lot of their stuff was private labeled by other brands like Sanyo. They had their own line of products, but they were all pretty much, competing at the low end of the marketplace. And they began realizing as these Chinese brands were coming online, this part of the marketplace is going to be bloody. It's horrible now. It's going to be even worse in a few years. So they made the very unusual decision to say, no, we're going to go up market. From now on, we're going to offer top quality technology, beautiful user experience and product design, and we're going to ratchet up our pricing structure. And the market saw that. You can't just say, we're going to crank my prices up and offer the same crappy product. Everything's got to work together with that. But we can't be afraid to increase our pricing, particularly when we're giving that customer reasons to choose us, and just an overwhelming amount of value in that transaction. And so with CVU, it was a matter of saying, okay, well, what do we want people to think about us when they see these symbols? And so it took some convincing, first of all, to get the executive team to realize there was something that we needed that we didn't have. It wasn't sufficient just to have a logo. You've got to give people something to attach to that logo, something specific. Okay, because like I said in the summary, everyone's got a brand. You do too, both personally and your company has one as well. You may not know what it is, but you have one. It's kind of like, you know, there's Yelp creates business pages, and maybe for your business, and you didn't even know it was there, but it's there. It's just like a kind of floating around out there. People are leaving their comments. You can get ownership of those things and take control of it. And so it began on the inside, because that's where strong and sustainable brands begin. They don't begin with hiring an agency to come do it for us. I mean, there's certainly a value in that. There's expertise and there's creativity and a method. But in terms of beginning that process, it has to come from the inside. This is where it starts, with the people that are most affected by its meaning. So we did, over about a 1.5 year period of time, we did focus groups, dozens of focus groups and surveys, and trying to figure out, why do people choose to come here? And there were a lot of, here's an interesting one, there were a lot of, there are salespeople on the admissions team. So it's a Christian university. I think we're all, you know, California Baptist, it's kind of hard to escape. And so on the sales side, they were like, oh my God, this Baptist in our name is just killing us. We go to these college fairs and put up our table. We got USC here, UCLA there, California Baptist University right here. They're surprised we're not chewing on, wheat straw or hay seeds. And so I thought, as a marketer, I'm always looking, what's the point of difference? For me, that was like, this is great. There's a reason for them to choose us versus UCR or University of Redlands. It's something. I'd rather have 10 people who are just crazy, ridiculously enthusiastic about what I have to offer. And if that means I'm going to turn off 10 people, I'd rather have that than have 20 people that are like, it's cheapest. Are you close? Will you tuck me in at night? Will you rub my feet when I come to class? I mean, there's colleges, because they don't have any meaningful points of difference, they don't think they do, they give away so much stuff, it's silly. And it turns out through the research, that wasn't the intention, but we discovered in the research that people didn't really, when they were making their buying decision, it didn't really factor into the equation at all, the Baptist part. In fact, many people liked that there was that spiritual element to the education. You know, maybe they didn't have to believe in it, but at least it's there. It gives all the learning some sense of organization and alignment. In any event, it was great. We stopped having that conversation. We can move on to bigger, more important. But again, getting employees and also our current customers, students and alums, past customers, involved in this process, because we genuinely want to tap into that collective intelligence and experience and knowledge. And so the way I do the process is, once you come up with some ideas, we see what the issues are, we see people choose us, look at the competitive landscape to see what we fit into this. So what we don't want to do is say the same thing everyone else is saying, and we want the thing that the expectation we create to be built on things we actually do, and hopefully things that are unique to us. And so I package these ideas graphically and say, okay, and survey and focus group with people and say, here are what these ideas could look like. Because most people are visual. If I just said, live your purpose, or just do it, if I just put those in Arial on the middle of a letter-sized sheet of paper and said, what do you think about that? Like, boring as hell. Can you imagine when someone brought into the swoosh, to Phil Knight and Bob Bauer and say, here's your logo. And they're like, a check mark? How much money do we pay for that? But it has, the value is in how you attach meaning to it and how your behavior validates what it is that you're saying. So again, very, very much affects our personal life. So we put these ideas together, we surveyed the population, and Live Your Purpose came out on top. I actually like Change Your World was my favorite. It was in the run-up to the 2008 presidential election. One of the campaigns adopted Change the World. Damn it, I can't use that now because that has a different meaning. All right, so Live Your Purpose came in, and that became really the battle cry for the university, and it grew in ways I never could have imagined. We began intentionally by beginning to weave this idea into the fabric of the culture. We did different activities to help people understand how what they did as individuals, sometimes never come into contact with students. Sometimes if they're in the payroll accounting office, and they're a different part of the campus. So it's easy to think, well, if I do what I do or don't, it's not going to affect. No, but it is. So think about, how does what you do help our customers do this thing. And that's one of the tragedies of the industrial era is it broke up all the pieces of the work that we do and created all these different layers between people who create stuff and the people that buy this stuff. Like if you know, before in the agrarian era, if you needed a table so that you could have a dinner with your family in your house, you'd come to me and say, I need a table for my house so that we can all sit down and have dinner after work. It's a really important time. I'd say, wow, that makes chiseling out this table really meaningful to me. But what I do is I make table legs, and I don't even know who's going to buy this thing. I just operate this machine and I make table legs all day long. It's pretty easy to get disconnected, you know, from the meaning of my work. So part of this is designed to reconnect people with, this is the difference you're making in someone's life. All right. Tell them I'm busy right now, but I'll call back later. And so then we use all these different visual media to get the message out, both on campus first and foremost, again, so that the people who are responsible to deliver the experiences, but also the students themselves. It's kind of neat having a college campus. You have this captive audience. They got to come every day, and they're going to hammer their, you know, clear purpose. No, I was very intent on creating spaces on campus that were ad-free zones, but also to dress up the place. And I was amazed people took the idea and ran with it in ways I never could have expected. Within, I don't know, 6 months of inaugurating the idea, I went to the bookstore, and it's on pillows and blankets and, of course, t-shirts, and it's on banners for different presentations, and wow. Because it wasn't like we said, here's what you're going to say from now. It was, we just found a way to articulate what was already there. And there's something there in each of your organizations. Whether or not you've articulated it yet, I don't know. So often we get busy in the doing of business, and we're constantly on that, you know, that gerbil, you know, carousel thing. We don't have the time, I don't think we do, to think about the business. To step back and, you know, set the urgencies aside and focus on what's truly important. And so what you're doing here today is doing just that. So I commend you for that, stepping away from the doing so you can do some thinking. And it's the bottom line effect, because this is all nice and it's well and good, but we have to generate profit, or all this is academic, isn't it? So this just shows enrollment growth over this period of time. This is why I left at the end of 2016, to see the effect that Live Your Purpose has had and continues to have on the growth goals of the university. So how do I play this practically? So I think I asked you guys all to bring your sumo wrestling outfits. Go ahead and put those on now. No, don't do that. I can see Florine, no. Not, but the idea is, we need, okay, we'll do sumo next time, so you come to that. We need an angle to engage the market. So in wrestling, you don't typically just say, okay, I'm gonna wrestle this guy, I'm gonna run up, we're gonna scrap each other. No, in wrestling, you wanna find an angle. Like if Bobby and I were to wrestle, and I just went toe-to-toe with Bobby, he would just smash me. But if I can get an angle on Bobby and then come in over here, where he's not as stable, then I have a chance. It's the same way when you engage in the marketplace. You gotta find an angle. And so branding and your brand ideal and how you weave it into your operations, your culture, and then how it expresses itself in your operations can be that angle. So instead of
finding your strength.
Well, exactly, it's finding your strength. Exactly. So it's just like in your own personal life, but now we're looking at an organizational life. I think many of these things I said, so I'm going to skip over them. Yes. Is visually arresting as that image is. Okay, so which type of brand are you going to be? As I mentioned, we all have a brand. Some of us are very intentional and it's steaming along towards a specific destination. Obviously, things change. We have to adjust, but there's some sort of intention to what I want it to mean to me, what I want it to mean to the people that I serve and the people that are involved in the production and delivery of that service. Or is it going to be a ghost ship, just kind of floating around out there, bumping into glaciers and getting caught on sandbars and eventually just floundering? The fact that you're here means you want to be one of those, obviously. This is for the people that didn't show up today. Okay, so I had built in a 5-minute break, but do you guys need it, or does everyone feel like they are good to go? You want to do a quick calisthenics exercise? Stand up, touch the ceiling, touch your toes. Okay, I feel better. Thank you. So we'll just go ahead and plug on because time is always at a premium. Yeah, if you need to take a quick break, please do. We'll talk about what you while you're gone. Yeah, let's take a little break. I can see what's needed. Yes, Lauren.
During this little break,
Yes.
did CBU's Live Your Purpose come from Rick Warren's Purpose Driven Life? Was that what it was inspired by?
Yes, it was an influence, and it's interesting that you mentioned that. So, you remember the episode where the guy was in an Atlanta courtroom, and he attacked a bailiff, got his gun. I think he shot someone in the courtroom, ran out, got free, abducted a woman, made her take him back to her place, and when they got there, he found a copy of Purpose Driven Life somewhere visible, and no, maybe it was she. She began reading it to him, and it just changed everything. Just disarmed him. It just those words. It's an amazing thing. So that brought that book onto like the national stage, and he'd actually come out to do kind of like their fall chapel kickoff message, and we were going through this process, and I had changed the words, which was really my the one I wanted to go with. We also had Live Your Mission, and then someone thought, well, what about Live Your Purpose? I said, okay, we'll put that in there too. And because I thought mission had some other associations. Same thing happened when I was at University Health System. We went through this, and it was a much larger process because we had a population of people there that was about 10 times the size of CBU, and much more varied, as you might imagine. I mean, not just ethnically, but also professionally, from janitorial staff to physicians and everything in between, and all over. This is a big county. We did 40 focus groups from out here, Corona, down to like Elsinore, out to Indio.
And it was government.
And it was, familiar with that, yes. And so, and all that. But it was interesting, and this is what gave me the courage to go out on my own, because I also thought, I want to start something of my own, but I don't want to do another agency. There's too many of them. It's like there's too many lawyers. My brother's a lawyer, so it's not that I have anything against lawyers necessarily, but I'm going to do something. If I'm going to do something, add to the conversation, it better be something that's novel, at least novel in my sphere of existence. And so seeing the same process work itself out in a very different environment gave me the courage I need to say, there's something there. And I think where our society is at, it's also a relevant time because people are looking for meaning. Meaning that either used to come from institutions, with the organized religion, and the trust and affiliation with those institutions has ebbed in the last few decades. But people are still people. People are still looking to do important, meaningful stuff. And so that's different. I'll come back and talk about it at some other time if you guys want to. So 3 things that we can do today, or at least we can get the ball rolling today and begin to execute them. Because these are things you don't want to just do today and then walk away from them. They're really habits, they're practices that you want to weave into your method of operation, at least on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. And I'll explain what I mean by that in just a moment. All right, so the first one is, did I go too far? I did. Okay, interview yourself. This is a weekly frequency. Maybe take 30 minutes, an hour. It's almost a exercise in reflection. We talked about that just a second ago. So making yourself, carving out time to think about the business so that you're not just always reacting, but you're actually, you are being the prime mover on the circumstances. And thinking about these questions, what do I want my brand to mean to my customers? When they think about me, what do I want them to think? When you think about people in your life, there may be some colorful pungent characters. You can think of that person and it brings a very particular emotion or a word, maybe just an experience that just typifies or exemplifies who that person. Did I do it again? Did I pull? You've been looking at the door the whole time.
No. It froze on my computer, but it looks good on here.
Oh, great. Okay, I'll start about your computer.
Start over. Let's
Woo! You guys have all day, right? Okay. So what I want my brand to mean to my customers. Okay, this is the difference between, manicuring a bonsai tree, like a Miyagi-san and Karate Kid.
But Jeremy, my bonsai's dead. I trimmed it and everything.
You did
and
too much manicuring.
Okay.
Yes, maybe there's a cautionary tale there. Sometimes you need to, involve the others, and they say you take a few steps at this too. So yes, but the idea there is that you get one or you get the other. Something's going to grow out of the soil of your organizational brand. People are going to attach meaning, sentiments to it, regardless. The point is it what you want? Just like in our personal lives, there's the is it the me and the I? I'll let you help me now, Florian. I've been making muzzling you because Florian knows all this stuff already. But that would work for that. Let me know next time. We'll prove it. But there's this idea I have of myself, and then there's the idea that you have of me, and the hope is that over time I can make those things line up. And that's really, it's on me more than anything else. It's on the basis of how I engage with you, the things I say, the way I behave, is to just validate what I want you to believe. Because if I just go up and say, I want you to think I'm really cool, dude, and then, do you think I'm a cool dude? No, I think you're an idiot. But you've got to demonstrate and give evidence and substantiate, just the same way with your company brand. And then how do I express and validate that meaning to them? And again, this is not a function of having to, set aside a large budget. These are things you can do for free. You're doing them now. It's just that they may not be intentional right now. When you begin to think, okay, I want everything about how we engage with our people, and it starts on the inside with the people that deliver this experience. What is it that we want to express? Okay, so that's the first one. All right, so I want you to take 5 minutes. This is why it's good that you guys all have something to write on. Take 5 minutes and answer these questions, and then record your answers, okay? So I'll stop talking. What do I want brand to mean to my customers, and how do I express and validate? Not just how I express it, but then how do I reinforce it over time? Because this takes time, especially if you've got some baggage you've got to deal with. A lot of us do. I'm guessing most of our companies have had some history, and it could be checkered. There could be ups and downs, and that's fine. That's just life.
So we take personal brand or professional?
I would let you choose whether it's personal or professional. I think they're interchangeable, but I think since we're talking about your business, probably be better to focus on your business brand. I will, if you'd like, share these slides with you.
Give them to me and I'll circulate one.
Great. Okay. All right, let's give you a couple more seconds. And that wasn't quite 5 minutes, I'm sorry, for offering that luxurious amount of time and then taking it away. But
I'm trying to brand.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
It's all good. It's all good.
Thank you. That was looking so sloppy the whole time. I'm just going to stand here so that the beautiful chamber symbol can express itself. Okay, let's move on to the second thing you can do, which is interview your customers. Something that Well, I know, for me, it's something that I have to make a conscious effort to do. It's very easy to get stuck in the office, the factory, the car, whatever, just racing around and trying to crank out whatever it is that we're selling. But spending time with customers is never a bad thing. It's almost always a good thing. And so we don't start, it's something I had mentioned, 2 to 4 hours weekly. Not with the same person every time, but different customers. And not just your best customers, although I think that's a good place to start. The Pareto principle, the 80-20, or 80% of whatever, your business in this case comes from 20% of your clients. So you really do want to tier your service delivery so that you give the best to the people that make the biggest difference. But it could be the people that are maybe on the fence. They're long-term customers, they're not your most profitable customers. Maybe there's something there. So begin by talking about them. Let's start with what can I do to make you buy more stuff from me? That might sound a little bit too self-serving. But to inquire about their needs and find out how do they use this thing in their lives. The Arm & Hammer baking soda was not made originally to be used in 100 different ways. They had a few different things that they thought people would use their product for. But then they discovered through market research, people are using this thing for just about everything. Oh my, clean their floors and their teeth. Hopefully not in that order. But that's part of listening to your customers and maybe just observing, how do they, let's look at them in the wild. Isn't this interesting? There's a great book out there called Why We Buy by a guy named Pablo, what's his name? Is it Pablo? Paco Underhill. And he's a retail marketing guru. And his method is clients hire like Macy's and Nordstrom, retailers, to go into their spaces, observe customers, often without their knowing, and it looks a little bit stalkerish, and see how do they interact in those spaces. He's the guy that coined the term, and you can use this in your own conversations this week, the butt brush. The butt brush is not a brush. It's what happens when two customers graze each other in an aisle because the aisle has been poorly designed or something's sticking way out, you gotta move around and, oh, excuse me, sorry. But seeing how do they work, and so the idea here is find out what are their needs, what are the problems they're trying to solve with what it is that you're offering. What are some things related to that they're trying to, that they can't quite do yet, or they're doing it, but it's not very efficient. So think about how does this thing fit into their lives? The problems they're trying to solve, the goals they're trying to achieve, and then think about, what are the things that we, as a company, as your partner in solving this problem, what are we doing well? Things that you really like. What are we not doing so well? How can we improve? And then getting to that all important, when you think about us, what do you think? What comes to mind? And have that just this authentic conversation between two people. We're both trying to be successful. So how can I make you more successful? And what can you tell me about what I can do? And almost in spite of how the specifics of what you hear back from that person, you're going to enjoy an increase in their positive estimation of you and your brand because you asked. I gave you a link down here, but there are many others similar to it about the positive effects. Just asking someone for their opinion, because people always love to get their opinions on it. But in a meaningful way, and that's why it's important to begin with where they're at and work backwards to where you are. Okay? And that's reciprocity. Help me to know how I can help you, and then while we're on that subject, I need you to help me too. And then lastly, interview your employees, and they're that critically important intermediate step between you and your customers. And maybe you have a contact with customers. I'm guessing a lot of us, smaller businesses, wear lots of hats. There's a really funny radio ad right now. It's like, Bob Smith, CEO of Bob Smith Enterprises. Bob Smith is also the accountant of Bob Smith Enterprises. He is also the payroll and maintenance coordinator. So you wear a lot of hats. but there's probably other people involved. Maybe contractors. Those are people that you should be talking to. If there's anybody that represents you or part of what you do to other people, your customers, they should be part of this process. Because they can be hugely helpful or they can create a huge hindrance. So what does our brand mean to you? People want to take pride in their associations. They want to be proud of where they work. They want, when someone says, well, where do you work? I work at the Kona Chamber. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. What is that like? Okay, as opposed to, oh no, I'm sorry. We've a lot of people that are like that, you know. And that's because, yeah, they're not proud of that association. Maybe there's a good reason for it. So what is our brand? It's our, that language is important. You're distributing ownership. Okay? What do you want it to mean so you can be proud of it? I would love for you, employee, coworker, whatever, to be able to go out to your next party, your Oktoberfest for an October, whatever it is you're doing, your Halloween party, and talk to people about what we're doing here. What would we need to be for you to have that kind of pride in your association? And what do you think our brand means to our customers? Because those are the people that are probably talking in candid conversations, and then they're hearing the feedback, and not always the good feedback. And sometimes those customers that complain the loudest are really the people that are saying, I'd really like to be a zealous fan of yours, but you're not living up to my expectations. If you just ask, and that was step 2, you can often turn and they will become, zealous evangelists for what you do. And what barriers exist to the meaningful, consistent expression and validation of that meaning and message? When I was at the hospital, we did something called rounding. We would get in groups of teams, the executive group, and every week we would go to the different departments. Here's the reception desk. I spend time with these people and see what's working for you guys. What isn't? What do you need to be able to do your job better? What are people saying? Or go down to the laboratory and they need a new blood work machine. So some things are really easy to do. Like this, there's a woman at one of the reception desks who says, well, people are always coming here and asking for directions. And so, we can just create some sign, not that we don't want people talking to you, but there's some repetitive things. It's like you don't have enough to do. We'll put some signage here. That's easy. So you find out, well, what is it that can be done? And then, to the degree that you can, do it, or say, you know what? We're going to get that done. It's going to take some time. I'm going to keep you posted. And then go back and tell them, we did it. Or we're in the process of doing it. So that they see the process means something. Because if they think it's just a one-off, you don't really care. You just went to this workshop this morning and you're excited about this. But next week, you're not going to care. You've got to make it a practice, and you've got to give them a reason to believe that it actually makes what they say makes a difference. Okay? All right. I was going to have you guys pair up and work with each other, but we only have 6 minutes, so I'm not going to do that. But you'll, again, have this, and this is something you can apply in your own space. All right, let's see if I did a good job. So, 3 things you can do today. Number 1 is what, Lauren?
Interview yourself.
Yes, very good, Lauren. Okay. You're going to wear a really nice shirt. I can kind of do 2 shirts. Okay, what's the next one? What's the second thing you can do? Yes, JP?
Interview your customers.
Yes, excellently done. Okay. And then the third thing, there's more things, but the third thing for today, Bobby?
Which should be number 1 in my eyes, but interview your employees.
Yes. Okay, excellent. Yes, and these are interchangeable. I think as to that point, if you're the founder of a company, you do have some responsibility to lead in the definition of that concept. You created it because you saw a need in the industry. But yes, eventually, over time, it becomes this kind of fluid co-creation process where everyone is involved. Let's see, it seemed like there was something else. Oh, the process of, and Bobby mentioned it in my introduction, which I don't think I'm half as wonderful as what he said, but I appreciate that. Distributing ownership. Used to be, you'd call Kinko's, before they became FedEx Kinko's, and you'd call and they would have this introductory speech. Thank you for calling Kinko's. These are branch offs, get your copies, man, blah, 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 blah. Like 20 seconds later, thank God it wasn't like the emergency room hotline or something, the ambulance. It was so canned because they had to mandate, you say this when someone calls, as opposed to infusing that culture with, here's what we're trying to do as a result of getting people together. And at CBU and at the health system, I wasn't able to contact every single employee. You're not going to leave that depending on the size of your organization. But you want to get a good core group of champions who understand and appreciate their exercise and who will then influence the people in their spheres. Maybe you don't connect well with this person at the department, but you know someone who does. If you can get them on board, they can be the ambassador for that group of recalcitrants and Luddites possibly. But distributing ownership in the process is what increases the likelihood that at the end of the process, when the outcome is expressed, that those people will adopt and then express that outcome. And so that gives you a brand, a powerful brand ideal that isn't based on the next ad campaign. I do advertising too, but oftentimes people can pump up a brand over a period of a campaign, but then the budget runs out, and then the brand we're talking about building is sustained through your culture, through your words, through your actions, through your operations. And that's something that you're doing right now. It's just a matter of fine-tuning it and giving it an intentional direction. And that's it.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Our chairman of the board gets to pick a theme, and this year Mike Ryan has a theme of Make a Difference, and we put it on a challenge coin. And we're going to give this to you, and we're going to give each one of you a challenge coin as well if you haven't received one yet. The purpose of this challenge coin is for you to hold on to it and understand, should you ever get down, just understand you are making a difference. You made a difference in our lives today, the people that are watching online, as well as the difference that you're making in so many other people's lives, the four at home especially.
Thank you so much.
So God bless you.
God bless you too.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Let's give it up for Jeremy.